Oh, my.
But that 88 is pulling away.
Earnhardt, Johnson, Menard, Blaney, third-generation star, Dale Earnhardt Jr. brings him to the flag. Checkered flag, waving, it's over. It's Earnhardt. Earnhardt trying to cover all spots.
Oh, yeah! Good job, Junebug.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. Checkered flag at Talladega.
Why is this one so much fun? Because your grin told so many stories on your cool-down lap.
It's just real emotional. I haven't won here in a long time. It was my daddy's birthday a couple days ago. It's just real emotional, man.
My ears thrilled.
Welcome, Dale Earnhardt Jr. fans, to the Race Preview Podcast. I am your host, John Justice, and boy, that race last week sucked. I do have some good news about this week in Las Vegas that we'll get to in today's podcast. The final practice just wrapped up. Heading into Sunday's race, and we'll break it all down. We'll let you know what Junior is saying about the car, how practice went, how qualifying went, and my prediction on how I expect the Nationwide 88 and Dale Earnhardt Jr. and the crew to do on Sunday in Las Vegas. The good news up front, as we work through the podcast and the show this week, the good news up front is that if we're going to turn the season around after a really poor start, which is what the team has had, then Las Vegas is the place to do it. We'll get into more of this again later on in the show, but no driver has as many top tens, consistent top tens at Las Vegas than Dale Earnhardt Jr. He's basically the past 6 races, past 6 years there, he's notched a top 10 and come really close to winning on a couple of occasions. I remember that heartbreaker of a race a couple of years ago when they ran out of gas there towards the end in that really sharp-looking Mountain Dew. It was like a black Mountain Dew paint scheme that he ran early in the season. That was a difficult one. But the car is fast. I'll just say it up front. The car's fast. Things look good on the speed chart. It looks like they've made some changes to the car. I got a good feeling going into tomorrow. Now, I had a good feeling going into Atlanta as well, and for those that were watching last week, we certainly know how that race ended up, turning out. And it wasn't all Junior's fault either. I mean, the takeaway from Atlanta, and we'll just talk briefly about Atlanta because I don't want to focus too much on the negative, but the takeaway from Atlanta was that the car had speed in it. Everything that I said leading up to the race in the podcast was true. The car was quick. It's a place where Junior has done well in the past and had been doing better every single year for the past couple of years as we've been going through, what had been a rebuild phase for Dale Jr. Over the course of the past, 5 or 6 years. But it just, a series of unfortunate events led to being multiple laps down. If it hadn't been for that, well, even if Junior hadn't had the pit road speeding penalty so early in the race, that would not have changed what ended up happening with the multiple laps lost because of the tire that unraveled. They had a loose wheel at one point. I mean, they could not get out of their own way on Sunday, and it was just so difficult to watch. Listening to Dale Jr., though, was good, though. He's got a great attitude right now. And at one point during the race, and I want to talk briefly about the fans here, but at one point during the race, Dale Jr. even mentioned that despite the fact that he was a few laps down, he was having fun in the car. He was enjoying driving the car. And if you listen to the Dirty Mo Radio Dale Jr. download this week, you'll hear him, or you would have heard him talk about that very thing, that even if they're not running well, he still is having fun. He still likes driving and racing the race car, even when the race isn't going the way that he wants it to go. Now, what's funny about that, and I haven't mentioned this at all in the opening season podcast, and I think I need to address it just briefly. I tweet a lot at John Justice, Jon Justice is where you can find me on Twitter. I tweet a lot on race day. I host a along with I co-host the Justice and Drew morning show, along with our producer Sam, here in Minneapolis, Minnesota, TwinCitiesNewsTalk.com. We do a Monday through Friday show, 6 until 9 o'clock every day. Monday through Friday. And the three of us, me, Drew, and Sam, we follow each other, obviously, on Twitter. And we have our notifications set up so that we know when the other person tweets. That way, if there's something show-related that we can retweet or like, we're aware of it. We don't have to go searching through their pages a couple times a day. I just know when it pops up. So it's funny because on race Sundays, Sam doesn't always, but she gives me a bit of a hard time because she talks about how much she learns about NASCAR because I'm tweeting the whole race. I'm just kind of doing commentary while I'm watching the race. So there was some Yahoo. I ended up blocking him because I can't stand Dale Jr. fan/haters. I mean, look, Dale Jr. fans are passionate. I mean, I'm passionate, obviously. I do a podcast every single week. But some fans, I just don't get. So I tweeted out that Dale Jr. was having fun in the car, even though he wasn't doing well. And this dude on Twitter basically started pitching a fit because basically he was saying that this is why I need to find another driver because Dale Jr.'s heart isn't in it. It was really bizarre. I mean, the guy was just trolling. And I don't waste a lot of time with Twitter trolls. I just don't, I really just don't bother. So, I made a couple of comments back and forth, and then finally the guy was just being so obnoxious, I just decided to go and block him because it was just so annoying. But I'm not that kind of, I'm a very optimistic Dale Jr. fan. I'm not an apologist. Don't misunderstand. I'm not an apologist. I'm sure some people would classify me as one, but I'm not. I'll call it as I see it. But at the same time, I'm also, I'm also an optimistic Dale Jr. fan. And that's how I like to treat the races. There were a couple of people on Sunday who were commenting that, well, there's no way he's going to get his laps back. And this was when he was thinking like 2 laps down. It's just too hard to do that in Atlanta. And I was like, well, no, there's plenty of time. We were barely a quarter way into the race. We're doing this in stages. We knew we were going to get cautions. And there was, technically plenty of time for him to get those laps back. Now, that person was right because he ended up going multiple laps down. But again, there was unforeseen events that ended up causing that. And if they hadn't, there was one point during Atlanta where they decided to stay out on old tires and try to go and catch a caution because a bunch of the drivers in the middle stage were pitting early and trying to get a jump on everybody else. And so Greg Ives decided to go ahead and leave Dale Jr. out on the track to see if they could catch a caution. And because of that, though, on the tire wear and how much the car slowed down, he ended up not catching a caution and ended up going another lap down. So that was just the team and Greg Ives attempting to try to at least get one of the laps back, which would have put him in a really good position towards the end, especially with all the cautions that we got for him to go in and get on the lead lap. It just didn't happen. But I'm just not one of those fans. I'm not one of those fans that focuses on the negative. And what I wanted to mention, and I mentioned this last season, early in the season, was for those that follow Dale Jr. and Dale Jr.'s weekend, and this is just, you do whatever you want to do. Okay, I'm not you. I'm just saying, when I see people tweet and they look at the speed chart for practice, and Dale Jr. is running in the 20s on the speed chart, and start pitching a fit about how the car doesn't have any speed, what's going on with the team. I hope they listen to the podcast and so they learn a little something. It doesn't matter. Like, for instance, in final practice, Dale Jr. was 3rd on the speed chart in final practice. That doesn't mean anything. He was actually 15th in 10-lap consecutive averages. And we're almost getting to the point where that doesn't really mean anything because sometimes even the 10-lap averages, depending on what track you're on and depending on how long those green flag runs are, even that's not a really good indication of how good the car is. So you don't know if they're on sticker tires, you don't know if they're scuffing tires, you don't know who else is running what. It just doesn't matter. And I get frustrated for those fans because there's an assumption there that the team isn't doing good. You have to look at the whole package. And that's why I ended up creating this podcast to begin with. is that hopefully a Dale Jr. fan who may not realize that can get a bit of a whole package picture. Not just qualifying, which didn't go like we wanted it to, but that's okay. That happens. But who looks at all of practice and then also looks at Junior and follows the practice, listens to what he says about the car, and can make it an informed decision and expectation on how Dale Jr. is going to do, not just based off of a couple of numbers on the speed chart, because you do have to put it all together. And this is what the normal NASCAR news outlets and racing, news does. I just decided to do it for Dale Jr. specifically because he's my driver. So that's my PSA for this podcast. I hadn't done that rant in a while. Don't get too overly frustrated when you see that they're not high up on the speed chart during practice. You have to look at the whole picture. You got to look at the history of the track, what's Junior saying about the car, because you just don't know where everybody is in practice. Now, sure, there are some weekends where you'll see a driver that'll be dominant both practices and then hits the track and does fantastic. That is going to happen, and it is a good indicator. But just because Junior was sitting, I don't know, I think he was, I'll have to go back here. Actually, let me go ahead and look so I get the numbers right. So in second practice, he was 17th on the speed chart and then had the 8th fastest 10 consecutive lap average. But you can't really look at that because that was early in the morning in Las Vegas and not close to what the temperature of the racetrack was going to be. You really need to look at the final practice, which we'll get into here in just a moment to get a better gauge. And again, what Dale Jr. is saying about the car. And he even mentioned this on his podcast this week. He even made a comment on the podcast about how funny it is when they do the weekend rundown of the practices. And he talked about the opening practice in Vegas, about how you'll work on the car, and then you'll basically end up taking everything out that you worked on because it's nowhere close to what the track conditions are going to be for Sunday. All right, now my rant is over. Let's move on. Before we get to, I have some audio of Dale Jr. I actually lifted it, just figured you'd enjoy it, from his Dirty Mo Radio download podcast, the Dale Jr. download this week. There's some commentary he gives about, and I just thought it was really funny, that he gives about Las Vegas. Before we get to that, I do want to mention this week for merchandise news. There is a, between last week and this week, there's a whole bunch of new items up at NASCAR.com. A few new items up at DaleJr.com, but NASCAR.com has posted a lot of different items. New t-shirts. There's a couple of new t-shirts for the Exalta paint scheme. There's also some new women's items that are available. And they put up, and if you haven't seen it yet, definitely go and check it out. They put up one of the paint schemes, and I think Dale Jr. is only running a handful of Xfinity races this year. But there's a diecast available for the number 88 Xfinity car, sponsored by Degree. It's black with this teal turquoise accents on it. Really good-looking car. So if you want to take a look at it, if you're into paint schemes like I am, definitely go and hit on, basically, if you go to NASCAR.com and you go to Dale Jr.'s shop page, just hit the link that sorts them to newest items, and you'll see, or just go to the diecast, depending if you want to specifically look at that, and go and check out that car. It's a really, really good looking car. I'm looking forward to seeing it on the track. So I would definitely go to NASCAR.com if you're looking for some new merchandise. Again, a lot of new items, t-shirts, hats, stuff for the office as well. I think there's some new iPhone cases that are available too. So again, at NASCAR.com and go and check that out. And I did go and check my other website that I mention quite often, and that is Raceline Direct, and they also had some new items this year. They still have not released what the paint scheme is going to look like for the Mountain Dew car. So they must be holding, and I know he's going to be running, I think he's running nationwide in California, and then I know for sure he's running the Exalta car in Phoenix, and I can't wait. As I've mentioned in the previous podcast, I cannot wait to see the Exalta car on track. I got my t-shirt, I got my diecast ordered. I'm really looking forward to seeing that and wearing that gear for that race as well. But again, they haven't released the Mountain Dew car, and I'm really curious to see what that design looks like. Obviously, it's going to be different than the standard, which I thought was one of the best paint schemes that Dale Jr.'s had in a while. The Diet Mountain Dew car that basically had the the can or bottle graphics on the side around where the numbers were, and the rest of it was silver. I loved that car, but they ran that paint scheme for several years.